Okay, coaches, you're all very welcome to tonight's webinar, and we're trying to identify the next generation of goalkeeper at youth level. So just a few housekeeping rules, folks. So it'll be approximately between 50 and 60 minutes, the webinar. If you want to ask a question during the webinar, or you want to leave the very end, you can use the chat function or the Q&A function throughout. I know a lot of you have sent questions pre-register, so we've identified them questions over this past week or so, and hopefully them questions will be answered during tonight's presentation. As I said, if you have any issues in terms of your Wi-Fi at home running, hopefully not, if you want to log out and re-log back in again and join the webinar from there. Just moving on. So tonight's outcomes, coaches, by the end of this webinar, I hope to explore strategies to assist with developing the next generation of goalkeepers in your club, which is very, very important. Provide tips and cues in communication, positioning, and unearthing all the qualities in your next goalkeeper, and identify how to make goalkeeping fun and attractive positions. So that's the key take-home message that's going to be from tonight, how we're going to make it fun and attractive. So just to introduce our special guest, my name is Kieran Mordesai. I'm the Ulster Ladies Development Officer, and we have two very, very special guests and two top goalkeepers in their respective fields. We all know on the left-hand side we have Linda Martin from Donaghmore and County Monaghan. Linda's also an LGFA goalkeeping tutor. Our titles is amazing. She's 19 club titles, going for 20 this year, I think, Linda. In 21, 20 club titles, which is outstanding. She has 12 Ulster club titles, 5 All-Ireland club titles, 4 Ulster senior and county titles with Monaghan, and she's got 1 All-Star award. The only thing's a little is that senior All-Ireland with Monaghan. To our right, we've got Aidan McLaughlin, who's a colleague of mine, works for Ulster Ladies as well. Aidan, again, has a lot of experience in goalkeeping. He's #1 for his club in Castle Dawson, Derry. He's also been a goalkeeping coach for minor and under 20 level in Derry, is his home county. Aidan has also coached various ladies teams in Derry, Tyrone and Monaghan, and Aidan has a lot of experience in this role as well. So we have two of the best in both their codes to talk us through tonight, guys, and we hope, don't be afraid to ask any questions at the end, and we hope you get a lot out of it. So Aidan and Linda, it's over to you.
I hope Linda would be very happy she would give me a couple of those titles there. Maybe she's very top heavy. I have 1 or 2 and she's sitting there at 20, so
well, just not 20 yet. Hopefully this year it'll come around, but if we all get back on the field, hopefully sooner rather than later. We'll just start off by asking yourselves through the, as Kieran mentioned, the chat function and the Q&A there at the bottom, just how you identify a youth goalkeeper in your club, or if you're with the county or whatever it is. What do you feel are the most important qualities, attributes of a goalkeeper? So we'll give you a couple of minutes there just to throw them forward on the chat. Yeah, confidence, bravery. Coachable, not a bad one either.
Awareness, leadership, just through the midfield, Linda, if you want me in yourself.
Yeah.
Team focus, be willing to teach, have an interest in the position, good kick out and foresight, willing to learn, wanting to be there.
A very important one, wanting to actually be there. Yeah. It's a big one.
They have a good view of the game, because the goalkeeper can see everything out in front of there. So being aware of the 6 defenders and the people in front of her as well. Being calm under pressure from one of our coaches, good. And,
not shy.
Yeah.
Well,
courageous, and we'll cover that later on, Linda.
Yes.
As the night goes on. Alert, good, John. Have a voice within the team, yeah.
Yeah, it can be very important.
I think that communicating one keeps coming up there every 3 or 4 as well.
Yeah.
So I think, a lot of good answers there, Linda. So I think I'm just moving on.
When we were on there, Kieran.
Yeah, it's just not. Sorry.
There you go.
So this is just the next one now, moving on from all your very valuable answers there. So we've outlined sort of through 5 main aspects what the skills are that's required. So we went through the technical skills, the restarts, kickouts, situations that have to be dealt with, obviously, by a goalkeeper, your reaction and recover, and the footwork. So the 11 principles here that we've outlined are obviously your head. So that has to do with your concentration. The massive part of the game when you're a goalkeeper, because obviously you have to be very aware of what's going on around you. You have to be very aware of what's going on with the backs, at a marked up, at everyone doing what they're supposed to be doing. And it's very important for a young goalkeeper as well not to be distracted. Maybe there's kids running around the back of the goals, or the parents could be coming in and shouting in at them in the goals, or different things like that. Just try and not distract them as best you can. Their hands, so it's very important as a goalkeeper to always keep your hands in your eye line. So if my hands are here, it's very easy to reach out away, whatever way you have to do it. But if my hands are down by my sides, it's very hard to lift your hands then and try and obviously go for the ball. Your feet is a very important attribute as a goalkeeper. You don't want to be stuck flat-footed. So it's very important when you're on your feet to always be on the balls of your feet. You hear it all the time, people saying to be on your toes. So as a goalkeeper, you need to be on the balls of your feet, on your toes, and just your knees slightly bent, so you're not caught flat-footed and caught off guard. Your stance, as I said, knees slightly bent, and just very important to keep moving all around the goal. So if the player's on the left, try and move with the player. So then your distribution, so whether you as a coach have worked on with your goalkeeper at the going short for kickouts, it's very important that you work with obviously your backs at the same time too, so they know what's happening. Or if you have a goalkeeper with a long kick out, do the midfielders know where to run? Do the wing backs know to get out of the way to leave that space there? So it's very important distribution now as the game's evolving, obviously, and retaining your own possession is very important. Also, it's very important on the distribution one is to take the right option. You know, sometimes you could have a long kick out open here, or sometimes the short kick out might be the better option to retain possession if you're coming under a bit of pressure. The long kick out could be a better option just to get the ball out and maybe give the backs a bit of breathing space. 6th point there is to close the gap. So close the gap means as a goalkeeper coming out, making yourself big, trying to put the attacker off, trying to make their sighted goal to cut it down. So that's close the gap. Manipulate. So me and Eddie were talking about this as a goalkeeper. If you know an attacker's coming in and they're right-footed, maybe try and put them to their left side, push them off a little bit, get your hands out, be wide, be big. Recovery is recovery after maybe a save. We get up off the ground very quick. We try and even if it's a goal or if it's a point, have a little cue for your goalkeeper. So if a goal's after going in, let's say they take the ball out of the net, to count to 10, and then to go about the kick out. Or if they're walking out to the 13-yard line, that they're not walking out with their head down, to have a bit of confidence in themselves that the goal's gone in, there's nothing you can do about it now, it happened. So try and recover quick and try and coach them to get that out of their head, to not let it just interfere then with the next play that's happening, or you're still saying in your head, oh my God, I'm after letting that goal in. Do you know? So communication, obviously it came up a lot there in the last chat. So communication is very important as a goalkeeper. I think it's something that can be sort of built into somebody. So if you're communicating with your backs, if you're communicating with your full back, very important to make sure that they're all marked up. As a communication tool as well, try and let them know where the forward is, rather than just saying, oh, get on your girl, or she's away from you, try and get them to say, Joanne, if the cornerback's name, your attacker is to your right, or she's 4 steps behind you to the left. It's very important that you tell them how to communicate. Just don't say, oh, well, you should have told her this, or you should have told her that. Presence, it's all leading back to communication, and it's also about closing the gap and manipulate to make yourself big, to always be a presence in the goals, like not just stand there with your hands on your hips, as you do see some goalkeepers do, and not having a chat with the umpire, which sometimes can happen too. So it's always to be present, to be there, always have something to maybe give them a little cue, or if there's a coach on the line, just say, Linda, come on, get into the game, and just be present there all the time. And the consistent and never-ending improvement. So that's something that we always strive for. If it's kick-outs, improving the small kick-outs, the short ones, the long ones. If it's, no matter what it is, if it's something big, something small, something that you can contribute to your goalkeeper, just to make them a bit more confident, or if it's constructive criticism, we call it. So if they've done something wrong, try and not give out to them. Try and say, well, you know, you've done this in the game, maybe the next time do it this way, you know, instead of sort of giving out to them or knocking their confidence. So that's just a couple of wee principles there. If you're letting that add now, you can always do it through the chat function, or if you want us to elaborate on any points or anything, don't be afraid to ask. Eddie, have you anything to add to that there?
I think you probably covered it all there, Linda. People are probably maybe thinking as well, will this presentation be sent out? But it is recorded and it will be put up in the LGFA YouTube channel, so you'll be able to go on and see it there. But it's just everything there. We probably threw a lot at them there, Linda, and it is quite a specialised position, but it's all about just mastering the basics. It's not about those big fingertip saves around the post. It's about mastering the basics, I would always think. So your kick out, your handling, your feet, your hands. If you have yourself and you think, right, I've ticked all these boxes, I can keep it simple, I'll keep it basic, you'll not be far off, especially at a young age.
Yeah, and I see just a comment coming through there, it's calm and focused. That'll all lead back to your head, you know, keeping calm. If, like, let's say a goal does go in, that you just treat it like any other part of the game. Like if a defender makes a mistake or a forward misses a point, that no matter what happens, you sort of keep calm and keep focused. So the next slide we have here is another one for our participants. It's finding your number one. So we're just going to ask you to give us in the chat function just a few ideas of how you identify a goalkeeper at the minute. Obviously, if you don't have a person that's willing to go in, or you're trying to find somebody that will be a good goalkeeper. So if you could tell us in the chat function there how and why you're picking your goalkeepers there at the minute, or how you think you would pick them in the future. Give us a couple of minutes there just to put that through the chat there too.
So when they're putting in the chat there, Linda, I'll give you a funny story. Taught me putting in a hat. I played a reserve game about, must be 10 years ago, and our first choice goalkeeper was away work for the weekend. So with no goalkeeper, and this is literally what happened. Nobody wanted to do it, and this is like senior football, senior seconds football, and we just is right. We draw straws, and I was really the shortest straw, so I was putting nets. And first half, I conceded 3 goals, and yeah, so that was the first and last of my goalkeeping career, Linda. So it's a tricky situation if you haven't already got the interest. So it'd be interesting to see what the coaches are saying on the call in terms of how they get people to step forward.
Yeah.
Just looking through there. Let me see. Keith, rotate them, try them in training. Maria, ask the girls who would like to do it. If a child shows talents in this area, try and encourage them to take up the position. Groups of 2, have them do a few skills, see how the players feel after the session, ask players if they're willing to do it. Want to learn a new position and are keen, encourage them by telling them what they are good at. For example, great kickouts, great understanding of the game, teammates listen to you. Tony says, look for a kid who has a strong kick and has perhaps good confidence, so they won't feel it's their fault if they're scored against. Ruben, someone who seems to like to stay in catching balls rather than shooting. Oh, treat the position as important. The players feed off the importance you treat the position. Well, I think that's a key point, because you've seen in the men's game in recent years how big the sort of goalkeeper is becoming. You're going to cool camps now and young boys are wanting to do nets ahead of midfielder forward, probably due to Cluxton and Began and Morgan and Tyrone. I think the girls are going that way as well. Probably thanks to you, Linda, and the others as well, who've made it sort of fashionable. I think, isn't that what the newspapers maybe call it?
Yes. Yeah, thank God, like that. There is people now that wants to do goals. Like when I was coming up, it was a bit like a Kieran story there. It was picking a straw out of a hat and seeing who got the short one. But very good points there. How I would have started off in goals was my kick out. I had a very long kick out at the time. So that's how I would have been putting goals at the start. But the more I was there and the more I was taught different things and picked up a few things along the way myself, just watching videos of the likes of Shea Given and a few goalkeepers years ago, that's the way I would have picked it up. So yeah, it's very important to encourage the situation. And as I do say, try and keep it fun, and don't pick out sort of one player on their own. So if you're going to take maybe the likes of 2 or 3 girls at a time, rather than just picking out one girl and isolating her, so they find it good within the group, to see what the girls are doing. Or let's say if they've done a fun drill with tennis balls or rugby balls or something, that the other girls are looking at the goalkeepers having fun, and make the position that they want to do it, rather than being put in goals and that's just it. Yeah,
I think it's definitely you hit the nail on the head there, Linda, as well. And just how I even got on it was, I would always play it outfield from a club in school, and maybe went into their under 15 tries, and I'd done a bit of nets and soccer. I said, well, I'll probably have a better chance of making it going for nets here than doing it. It's sort of just stemmed from there. And you get your goalkeeping coach playing county minor, and you're like, geez, we're out at 7 o'clock, the rest of the team's out at 7:30. This is great, we're training hard. And you go to under 21, you're in a few sort of McKenna Cup squads, and it was just like that. It was different training. It was so focused. You came off in agony after, you were battered and bruised, but I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And now the way the game's evolved as well, and it is becoming fashionable, as we mentioned. And I know a lot of people mentioned big kickouts there, but the game's nearly gone about finding pockets and kicking the space now instead of a big, long, huge kickout, which is so important. So it really is becoming such a specialised position that even at club level, underage level, they probably do need to be. The goalkeeper probably does need to be working, needs to be working on things, and it's great to see so many coaches online looking at this as well. And there's loads of ways you can go about it. Ideally, you do probably want your 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 saying, yeah, I'm going to put my hands up here, I'd love to do nets. But if you don't, it was brilliant to see people on there, let everybody have a go in the chat, and seeing what qualities each girl have, because you could have girls that are brilliant under high ball. Like, different girl is unbelievable shot stopping, and it's just about building those qualities in to maybe make a really good goalkeeper.
Yeah, and as Edie said there too, it's very important to encourage the girls as well, and make them look at the likes of Cluxton, or if it's, some of the girls, Monica McGuck there from Meath, or if it's Ciara Trant from Dublin, or Martine O'Brien from Cork. Make to have somebody there for them to look up to, and maybe if it comes down to it, show them a few videos or something, that'll encourage them to stay in goals if they are in goals. If they say, oh, I want to move outfield, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, and make everything fun, and try to encourage them as best you can. As I said, also, it's important that as a coach, maybe the girl that can feel the ball the best is your best midfielder. And sometimes a coach will go, oh, no, you're too good for goals. That's not happening anymore. What's happening now is the best fielder might want to do goals, and as a coach, are you going to sacrifice her to put her in goals? Or your full forward could be a great goalkeeper. As a forward, she's a great kick. She's full forward. She's good under a high ball. As a coach, I'm putting the question to you, would you be willing to take that girl out of full forward or out of midfield and put her in goals? So that's another thing that I suppose as a coach you have to look out for as well, that, you know, sometimes are you willing to take that girl out and put them in goals? But she might score 3 or 4 points a game, but if she's in goals, she might save 2 or 3 goals and be the winning of the match for you. So maybe that's some things that coaches have to look for as well, that don't be negative and say things like that you're too good to be in goals, if you get me. So I think that's very important as well.
I think there's not many successful teams at any level that have won something with maybe a supposedly weak keeper or not a very strong keeper. I think you're looking at all your successful teams in all sports, not just ladies GA or men's GA. They're always, you know, the goalkeeper always seems to change it. You'll go to soccer. Liverpool for years there struggled, and they said they bought a really good goalkeeper who's going to communicate, and they sort of took over there. As much as it pains me and makes Kieran happy, but
it makes me happy too.
Yeah. But we're looking, Kieran will use Monaghan as an example. We watched them a few years ago in the championship. Linda, you weren't playing for them at this stage, the ladies, and they really struggled in the game one day, and we watched them a few times in the 2020 season there, and we're thinking, these goalkeepers changed here, they're doing really well, and she's made a couple of great fetches on the bar, she made a couple of great stops, her kickouts are absolutely brilliant, finding pockets of space, and it just breeds confidence throughout the whole team.
Yeah. So we've went through these a bit as well. The shot stop, and this is something that I suppose a goalkeeper needs to be a bit brave with. It's something that it can be taught, believe it or not. I just wasn't the best at it when I started myself. But a bit of coaching and a bit of effort put in by the player. As Edie referred to there, maybe sometimes as coaches, you just don't have time to work with a goalkeeper, or like there's only maybe 1 or 2 there of a night, and you have to try and keep an eye on everything. And it is very hard to manage your time between the backs and the forwards, and then try and take a goalkeeper off for a session. But as we talked about before, if the goalkeeper turns up maybe 10, 15 minutes early, and you just take them aside and do something with them, because the shot stopping, the communication, it's all intertwined. No matter what happens, like the handling and footwork, it all comes with a bit of confidence. And you'll see, if you do put a bit of effort into your goalkeeper, that the bravery, the confidence leads to bravery leads to the shot stopping leads to them getting more confident and want to stay in goals then, rather than, oh no, I'm after letting in 4 goals that game, that's it, that's me done, never going back in there again. So it's very important that everything you do towards a goalkeeper always builds their confidence, always tries to keep them in the goals. And even if they see, like, you know, the goalkeeper getting confident, maybe somebody else will want to join in or be a hand or take part in the drills with the goalkeepers. So that's a very important aspect there. Any of you want to add to that one?
I think you nailed it in the head there. It definitely is a confidence position, and I think whenever you are working with the goalkeeper, and it's so vital. Even if 1 goal goes in, a lot of the time you can see their head dropping, and it could be the best goal you've ever seen. It's right in the top corner, and 5 goalkeepers in the net wouldn't have saved it. I think it's key that we always tell them you will concede goals. There's sometimes you can just do absolutely nothing about it, but just keep your head up, and as you said at the start, maybe have that trigger that sets the whole team up, and everybody's ready again. Right, let's get our shape back. We'll win the kick out. Let's just forget that we maybe conceded there, and it all comes down to confidence at the end of the day. You know, some players nearly need an ear tune to maybe get them going. Sometimes some players need an arm around the shoulder. So it's getting to know what your goalkeeper needs as well, because I know I'm definitely a man for an arm around the shoulder. Definitely, I'll always respond a wee bit better to being told I'm the best. And you might be different, Linda, than me. I'm a big soft.
Well, I think I'm the polar opposite. If you ever came across our club, I don't think the arm around the shoulder is our sort of thing. But no, definitely, you have to get to know your players, whether it's the goalkeeper, whether it's full forward. It's just everyone's different, and I suppose that's what makes a great team. The next one here is for yourselves again on the chat. Do you think this is genetic or can it be developed? So we'll give us a few minutes to come through on the chat there, but in my regards, from my point of view and my opinion is it can be developed. I know at the start I played outfield for many a year, and as I went on, I developed and thank God I had a couple of good coaches came on board with the county and helped me along the way. But I definitely think it can be developed. I don't think it's something that's built into a player, because whether you're a back, a forward or a midfielder, you have to be brave. You know, if there's a 50-50 ball there to be won, are you going to stand back and let the player win it? No. You know, we're all very competitive. We all want to win. We all want to get the ball before somebody else. And it's there on the screen to be fearless. You know, you need a certain amount of fearless no matter where you're playing on the field. You know, whether it's a goalkeeper diving out in front of a ball, whether it's a cornerback making a last ditch tackle. We've seen it in most of you probably watched the Breach Corkery thing that was on the Lake Regale there. It showed her against us in an All-Ireland final. It showed her against Dublin. Running back, last ditch tackle, you know, blocking a player. Very, very important.
Sorry, Linda, just in the private chat there, you talk about bravery. Any specific sort of drills or activities that you can include in training sessions to build confidence and bravery in terms of coming out under a high ball or closing the attacker down? Anything that coaches, any tips or drills or cues you could give? Or
there's little drills you can do. Just with the poles, you know, have the poles up in a straight line and get your goalkeeper coming round, just diving on the ball. So you have the ball in your hand, you're kicking it down onto them diving. You know, it'll get them used to putting their two hands out and having their head behind their hands, so their head's not going to get hit. Even if the ball comes through their hands, you know, it'll not hurt, because they have their hands down on top of the ball and it'll stop them from getting a good wallop, you know, in the face or that. That a lot of them wee drills help to take the fearlessness out of it. And you can see yourself, if you do the likes of them drills, I know myself, I've started off from scratch, you know, and getting the ball kicked at you, it's not nice. But as you develop and you keep doing that drill and doing it over and over again, you start to become confident within yourself. You know, I'm going to get down and get my hands in this ball before it does hit me in the face. You know, so there's a lot of wee drills. Even we'll come across it now in a while. There's a few on the YouTube channel that we done for the ladies Gaelic, and very small, simple drills. And there's a big question I'm always asked is, how do you teach somebody how to dive? You know, where do you start, or how do you do it? And I don't want that player getting hurt, or I don't want them being put off. So there's a lot of different drills that you can do, and we'll show a few of them coming up in the next couple of slides. So that's what I would be.
I think just touching, Linda, on that last slide there as well, that, you know, we spoke about it yesterday and we were speaking about it before we came on, that it can definitely be developed, because we looked at the Cavan senior goalkeeper who played for years outfield, and he's got an all-star playing nets now for Cavan. And you named one, who was it the Cork or the Meath ladies goalkeeper? She was the same, wasn't she?
Yeah, Irene Munley, actually from Meath. She played all her life outfield for a club, but, you know, played in goals for Meath. Another one I came across as well, Yvonne Byrne would have played for Mayo for many years. I'm sure everyone knows who she is. Yvonne actually got nominated for an All-Star in 2003 for centre back. So, and she ended up getting an All-Star then further on down the line for goals. So, you know, I think everything can be developed if you love it enough and you work hard enough on it. And every little helps along the way. I think most of the people are agreeing with us there on the chat box that it can be developed with lots of coaching and encouragement. Yeah. Both, you can teach bravery, but you can teach technique. Yeah, very valid point. You need a coach to enable it to be developed. Good coaching practice. Yeah, very important. There's one actually there. It might sound silly, but I always tell the goalie to wear leggings and darker clothes as well for diving in the mud or the wet. Practicing diving, you can start by putting a little posturing in the shorts to start. Yeah. at the handy tip as well for goalkeepers is, if the weather is at the minute, if it's dry, Vaseline on the knees helps a lot, even if you're playing maybe on AstroTurf, some of the games to be played on now. I know myself, when I was coming near the end, AstroTurf was a killer on the legs. So just plenty of Vaseline around the knees, and it stops that from the grazing. And even on your sides, if you want to put a bit of Vaseline as well, it helps with the grass stains.
Especially now, so many pitches have the sort of small box, the 6-yard box is maybe an Astro, and the rest of the pitch is grass, and definitely up around Derry and Tyrone. And I don't know about you and Down, Kieran. I can't speak for the other counties, but most clubs now, their sort of 6-yard box would be sort of artificial turf, and the rest would be grass. So you can sort of, as you said, Linda, there, get the Vaseline on, because I've learned the hard way as well.
Yeah, and it's very important even as a coach as well, if you're going to play a game and there is AstroTurf in the goals, that you let your goalkeeper know before the game, or if she wants to go over and check it out herself, because sometimes the ball can bounce a lot different on the AstroTurf than it will on a pitch. So it'd be very important to point that out to her. So the next slide here is develop love for the position. So avoid asking the question, who wants to go in goals? It probably sends out a wrong message. Promote the players to play in all positions. Don't single out the goalkeeper position as something different. Make it the norm. Include a Pacific goalkeeper station in your underage sessions. So example of activities, which we said we'll show you now later on. And being a role model for the players. It's very important, even as a goalkeeper, like if you're not happy with something, to let your manager know, or if your back done something, try maybe not give out to her, but say just the next time, just stand goal side instead of standing the opposite side to your defender, So again, it's about constructive criticism, and it's about encouragement, and try not to put a girl off. And the big one here at the bottom is make it fun. If you use maybe a few things to hit them on the way, a few maybe rugby balls, so they get used to being on their toes, they get used to being the ball bouncing different, move in different directions. It can help a lot with training and making it fun. So the other kids maybe might want to join in. Tennis balls, poles, hurdles, cones. We all know kids love to mess about and have a bit of crack, and that helps the thing too. So this is just a little clip of a video that's on all the LGFA websites, that we use the tennis ball and a racket just for a bit of crack, and just throwing the ball above our heads, catching balls, different things. So you just want to just have a wee look at this. Okay, so in this drill we're going to combine the 3 main aspects of goalkeeper: your handling, your footwork, and your reactions. As you can see, just quick hands, catching the tennis balls, and then throw the ball up into the air. You see, as we talked about before, see the footwork on the balls of the feet. Try and keep everything nice and tight, and the ball up. So I know there's 3 at a station there, but you don't have to run through it real quick. You could be the coach, and just move them across. Don't make it too complicated for the children. Anything you want to jump in on there?
No, I think you're right there. Keeping it as fun as possible, because I know whenever I'm taking a session, you see the other players looking down and they're intrigued, and they maybe coming up to you after going, "Geez, that looked great. They were working really hard there, but that looked good." And I don't think people actually know how hard it actually is if you're throwing yourself down and getting back up, or even the concentration that you need, or how sore your throat and your head is after a game from all the constant talking that you're doing to your players. And it's nearly more mentally fatiguing. But if you keep it as fun as possible, and like we're always seeing in the newspapers as well, that Amy Mackin, and deservedly so, player of the match, player of the year, scored 1-4 this game, 2-4 next game. But we're finally starting to see some recognition come to our goalkeepers and their performances as well at national level and club as well, which is great to see. So as I've mentioned a few times, we're slowly starting to get there. The position is becoming more attractive as well, and hopefully we can just keep gears coming through, because it's a question that me and Kieran get all the time. We've no goalkeepers in our club. How can we get more underage goalkeepers? And the more you can get it underage, the more you're going to bring through the seniors. Just going to create that conveyor belt. So if you can start getting them now, it's going to really reap benefits for your senior ladies in years to come.
Yeah, I just see a chat coming through there. Any tips for coaches who have kids' parents who are opposed to their kid playing in goals? I suppose this is one that probably resolves around everyone. But as Eddie just said there, like, it's becoming a very important position. And if you say to the parent, well, they're as important as the midfielders, or they're important as the forward that's scoring, and if the kid loves the position, sure, why not? Encourage them, as the parents should always do, be encouraging their child. So I suppose that's one. And even point out to them, look at the likes of Stephen Cluxton, or the likes of Ciara Trant, or the likes of Martine O'Brien, and the recognitions that they are getting for being in goals now. So it's not just a forgotten position anymore. It's one that's coming to the forefront more and more. So then this one is to stay in love for the position. So this is for if obviously you have identified your goalkeeper now at this stage. So keep it lighthearted at all times. Just keep the fun aspect in it. Try not to be too hard on them if they make a mistake. You keep praising the girls even when mistakes are made. They will happen. Unfortunately, it's you can be the saviour one day, and the next day you're the absolute worst in the world. I know it myself, it happened many a time. So mistakes do happen. It's just unfortunately that the goalkeeper is the last line of defence, and you're there on your own, so nobody else sees. Like, if a forward kicks a ball wide, it's get the next one. Or if a defender misses a ball, they always have one to make up for. But unfortunately, sometimes it's the goalkeeper that's left carrying the can. But like that, just keep encouraging, keep them on track. Give that individual one-to-one feedback. So as I said before, try and make it constructive. Try not to be like you're giving out to them, or just try and always be positive towards the goalkeeper. So include the goalkeeper in feedback during breaks and activities, not just the forwards or defenders. So that's bring them into the discussion at half time. And don't be afraid to praise them in front of everyone else. Like, if a forward scores a point and you're saying, oh, brilliant, well done, Joanne, or well done, Teeny, or whoever it is, like, if a goalkeeper makes a good stop, say, well done, that score came from you. If a kick out walks out and the ball's moved up the field fairly lively, like, praise them for a good kick out, Next one down here. So as we said before, the creativity in the sessions, tennis balls, slalom poles, vary the equipment. There is a few videos on the YouTube channels, even about the diving. So I've started off from scratch, trying to teach a player how to dive. As a coach, I think it's very informative, and it'll help you a lot along the way, even if you needed just a few pointers. Give the girls opportunities to try different kick-out strategies. So I said before, if she's good at a short kick-out, work on that with the defenders. If she has a longer kick-out, don't be afraid to work on it with the midfielders or even the half forwards if she's getting it that far. So it's very important to work the horse strengths as well. If she can't kick it out long, don't have your midfielder running miles roaring at her for a kick-out, because she's not going to get it to them. And then that can knock her confidence. So let them talk before before games to the 6 defenders. Just call them in, just as a group together, 7 of them together. Say, well, I'm going to try and keep it short today, or I'm going to try and do it long. Let the goalkeeper express themselves. Get them working in large numbers. Goalkeepers should not be left in isolation. So as we said about this before, try not to leave them on their own, and keep them involved in training. Obviously, if there's footwork drills or if there's handling drills, you know, the goalkeeper can take part in them if they're kicking drills as well. You know, they only have to do their own wee bit now and again. So there's just a wee warm-up video we done here that can involve the whole team. So you're not isolating the goalkeeper as such. They can take part in the warm-up with all the rest of the group. So you see here, it's just working on footwork, agility, just getting tuned in. Again, working on your hands. So this can be beneficial to outfield players as well. It's not just goalkeepers.
Alright, you can. Let's go. Let's go. Good. Nice and soft. Working up and down the body. Off we go. That's it. I'm going. Good. You're ready. That's it. The ball's just picking up. Good. Change direction.
These are all wee things that can help just translate coordination, using the balls, feet, footwork.
2 feet wide. Good. You got to jump straight away there. 2. Let's go. Keep moving. Switch direction.
You know, as I said before, all these are on the LGFA website if you need them.
Your
There's
feet
actually
then grab the ball. You can't grab it on the floor. You have to be
trousers
on
that I
your
was
feet.
wearing there,
Behind
both
your
padded,
head.
the knees were padded, and the hip part was padded on them too. So they can be helpful sometimes.
Hands to your sides. Hands to your ears. Hands to your nose.
This is just reactions. Another can be used as a fun drill.
Hands to the knees. Hands to the ankles. Hands to the head. Hey, hands to the knees. Hands to the ankles. Hands to the head. Hands to
So
the
as you
head.
can see yourself, just a bit of crack.
Up to the knees. Hands to the ankles. Hands on the knees.
So as I said before, these can work with outfield players as well. It doesn't just have to be the goalkeepers.
I think a key thing there, Linda, as well, we've mentioned the whole way through, you see that the expressions on the girls' faces, every one of them seems to be having a good time there, and there's a bit of competition, they're getting loosened up, there's loads of ball work, they're working on their coordination, agility, they're working on nearly everything. Now, it mightn't get them game ready, but it's definitely loads of great wee things there that the coaches can take tonight from the LGFA page there on, and just different wee things that they can do to help their goalkeepers and their outfielders as well.
Yeah. So the next one is patience is key. As we said before, if a girl makes a mistake, do not drop it for her, or do not drop her for the next game. Try and have a bit of faith in her, a bit of confidence in her. Work with them individually on and off the pitch. We mentioned this before as well. If you know you haven't got enough coaches, maybe take them for 10 minutes before training or 10 minutes after training. It's unbelievable the amount of confidence that something like that will give to a girl. You know, oh Jesus, they're taking me now. You know, I'm going to get a bit of work now myself. Goalkeeping needs developed over time, as there is so many technical, tactical and mental aspects of the game. Well, these can all be broken down, as you've seen before. Identify someone in the club who can work with all goalkeepers, either a senior club or a county keeper. Use them as your role model. As I said before, like the likes of Cluxton for the men, or Rory Began, or, you know, start using the Martine O'Briens or the Monica McGucks, or, you know, get somebody that players can look up to now. There's plenty of people out there. There's plenty of goalkeepers. Sorry, they're just the ones that keep jumping into my head at the minute. But there's a lot all around the country now. And as we say, that we're starting to see games on the telly. We're starting to see them all around the place now. So it's very important, even to get young girls to watch them. Never allow parents to coach as an umpire at games. It can be off-putting, and it can send out mixed messages. As we've said before, you know, sometimes even I hear it now at this time that, you know, the umpire, because they are sort of like, oh, maybe go for that. And you're like, no, I have to make my own decision here. You know, it has to be the goalkeeper's decision to go for a ball, because, you know, if you tell her go for a ball and she misses it, you know, then all of a sudden her head's down. And as I said, it's very important maybe for one person along the line. I know there can be a few people shouting from the line and shouting different things, and one person's telling you to do something and another person telling you to do something else, and then maybe mommy's over on the sideline and she's shouting at you too, you know. So try and keep it that there's only one person giving an instruction. because even myself, you know, at this age, like you can still get confused with all that's going on in your head, all that's going on in the pitch, and then all of a sudden you have three people shouting at you, shouting different things at you from the sideline. So it's very important maybe just to keep that one-to-one aspect on it. So if one coach takes the goalkeepers and the backs and they try and keep them on their toes.
Just on that, Linda, just to add my own 2 pennies worth. I'm not a goalkeeping coach, but I was over my own under-14 boys team 2 years ago. We had a very, very talented young soccer player played out the field, but he was really, really good in nets. He had good vision, good awareness, you know, but he was really, really hot-tempered. Like if 1 goal or 2 goals went in, no one after at that level, which it does in both codes, he'd lose the head. So I made it purposely after the first couple of challenge games. I noticed this, you know, I purposely stood beside him in both halves, first and second half, and I didn't let any other parent, any other member of the management team. So just trying to calm him down, reassure him, as you said, take 5-10 seconds, maybe not after scored a goal, just to compose yourself, talk to him one-to-one, no, take a drink of water, just because young players, you know, their confidence can be knocked back if they don't get that wee bit of reassurance, just to be word in the ear that no, you are number one, you are. And yes, everybody makes mistakes, but as you said, Linda, it's the person in the last line of defence that always gets blamed. So that's just a wee key that I done, and it helped. And me and him built up a good rapport as the season went on, you know. And he ended up he's probably one of our best players by the end of the year, you know, because he was just getting that wee bit of one-to-one during game times that helped him to calm down a wee bit more than anything.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. Yeah,
I think that last point, it is key there, because a lot of the time parents or friends, or it could be a group of your friends that's behind the nets as well. We've all seen it. Sometimes they think they're doing the best thing, but it's just sending mixed messages all over the show, as you said, Linda. The management shouting on maybe something, players in the pitch are shouting something, daddy or mommy's umpiring there saying something, and all your mates are maybe behind the net saying something. And this goalkeeper has 3 or 4, you know, kick out strategies to nearly remember. They're trying to keep their defence right. Their head is literally all over the place, and it's easy if 1 or 2 goals goes in, you maybe lost a few kickouts for them to crumble nearly. I've seen it happen, and it's just so key. The clubs are really strong there, and they keep mommy or daddy away from the post, and there's maybe only one of the management team that maybe does talk. I think that was a brilliant point, Linda, that you made there.
Yeah, and I just see a comment in the chat there as well. Maybe somebody from your own club. It doesn't have to be somebody from the county or whatever it is. Maybe get your senior keeper to come down and give the girls a few pints, do you know? So it is very important. Just a little bit of encouragement helps everyone, no matter what sort of way it is.
Brian's point there is a really good one as well.
Yeah, I always say to the keepers, free takers miss frees, forwards miss scores, and goalkeepers make mistakes. Very valid point, yeah. That's bringing it throughout the team. No matter what happens, somebody always makes a mistake. Nobody's perfect.
I think that this next slide here, it's just like everything's the same. The coaching points for goalkeeping are exactly the same as any other position or any other skill in the game. You know, goalkeeper has to solo just like everyone else does. They have to be able to catch chest or above their head just like everyone else does. But then they do have their diving skills, as what Linda has touched on, and there is videos on it, and I'm sure we might get a few questions at the end, Linda, as well. You know, that muscle memory of closing the angle, and the things you do at training with these goalkeepers, try and make it as match specific as possible. So where are they going to face shots from in a game, or what situations do they nearly go through in a game? So it nearly does become second nature that what they do in training is going to happen in a match, and it's not something completely new to the goalkeeper. So it's going to be a lot easier for them to process and deal with, which I think is key. A lot of the times we see people just going down, right, we'll hit 6 shots straight at you, we'll hit 6 low, we'll hit 6 high there. That's great. How often does that happen in a game? It might happen 3-4 times a season, never mind in a game. So I think it's key that if you're doing anything or you are working with your goalkeepers at training, just think of the goals your team scores or the goals your team maybe concedes at training, in games, and try and work your goalkeeper around those. So the stuff they face in training are going to be the stuff they face in games, if that makes sense. I'm sure Linda can make that a wee bit easier to explain than I am.
Yeah, I just take it back to a situation I found myself in county a couple of years ago. the coach actually was feeding the girls balls, so the girls were coming through one after the other, after the other, after the other, and the coach actually feeding them footballs and just kicking them at me into the goals, whatever it was, wasn't even giving me a chance to get up off the ground or even giving me a chance to save a ball. So I ended up walking off training. I just left.
Linda, I've done that myself.
I got tick, and I was like, why are you doing this? Like, there's no point to this, because, you know, if you get a shot in the game and you save it, you're only going to have to get up once. You know, if you have 7, 8, 9, 10 shots coming at you at the one time, like, you're not given a chance to recover. You know, you're always going to, in a game, there's only ever one ball. You know, so that's a very valid point, because it can douse your confidence, it can piss you off. And that's what ended up happening to me that night. I ended up walking off the pitch and went in and got showered and went home. So it can be very annoying. We touched on this before, the LGFA on the YouTube page, myself and Irene, and we had the help of a little goalkeeper one evening in Dublin, and William actually from the LGFA was there as well. So we sort of went through the main aspects that we've covered in this, and maybe through some coaching points as well, that, you know, some coaches don't feel confident enough maybe to teach the dive, or they don't feel confident enough to how to teach the kick out or reflexes or drills like that. So we just put together a wee small snippet of maybe some drills that might help you along with the goalkeepers, you know. So every little helps, even as I said, if it's only 10 or 15 minutes, just try and do something with them. So we're coming near the end now. So again, we're going to let you use the chat function. And hold on just a wee second. I just see a question down here in the question one. So it's from Christine. How would you encourage a goalkeeper to become more vocal on the pitch with her teammates? Example, the backs, etc., or when doing the kick outs? Often young girls are not confident enough to do so. It is a very valid point. It's about getting the goalkeeper comfortable with talking to the girls, you know, or being comfortable with the people that's in front of them. I know from myself, growing up, we've sort of grown up together, a lot of the team. So the more confidence that I got in myself, I was fit to say, well, do you know, Niamh, there's somebody there behind you, or she's 3 steps to your right. You know, just start them off with small little things. So they don't have to be screaming out all the time. If they're small and she's only starting off and goals, just say, well, Orla, you're the goalkeeper now. You just tell your fullback, Roisin, you just tell her that there's a player to her right, or do you know there's a player to her left, or your players track your player. You know, she's a couple of steps away from you. Just start off with small little things like that, and she'll get confidence in herself to start speaking then more out, and maybe talk to the wing backs or talk to the centre back then, do you know? So that's just start off small and just build it up from there.
I think, Linda, what changed it for me was I played county minor. I was playing for the under 21s at the time, and we done well at minor. We'd reached All Ireland, and I remember we got a manager, and this fell at club level, Liam Bradley, would have been called Baker Bradley. I'm sure people maybe heard from him. He took Antrim and he took a few other county teams. We got him at club level, and I remember he won the one meeting for players, and I remember him saying to me, you know, why do you not play for Derry the way you play for the club? And I was like, just what do you mean? He's like, you're so vocal with the club, but you're like a mouse with Derry. And it just took someone of his sort of stature, who I would have looked up to in the game, to nearly to give me that confidence, even then at county level, to go on. And people would say I never shut up in games now, but to communicate and when I was going and playing with Derry then, and that's what changed it completely for me. So a few years then, and unfortunately I never got past mechanical panels and squads and stuff, but I always made sure I nearly communicated, and I would always pass it on now. It helps you concentrate. I would find it's massively, I'm nearly talking the whole time to my players to help me or to keep me focused during the game as well.
Yeah, it's just conscious of time here. A few questions in the chat function. I'll read them out for you, Linda and Aidan. Do Linda and Aidan do any type of S&C conditioning or weights or leg muscles for kickouts?
I know obviously with Derry, our goalkeepers gym program, sort of strength and conditioning, which they would all do on site, is slightly different than the outfielders. The midfielders and stuff would do a slightly different program. Wouldn't be overly different. I know myself and the club, our own strength and conditioning coach, we would do, me and the other goalkeepers in the club would do a wee bit more on our legs and the upper body and stuff, but it wouldn't be anything crazy. Like there's loads of stuff out there you find, well, you need to be careful because you find a lot of bad stuff in injured players as well, but if you find the right person, if you spoke to any strength and conditioning coach, there's loads now, and most clubs have someone in the club who's trained up. I'm sure they're well enough trained to maybe give you a program for your goalkeepers.
On my behalf with that is kicking. Kicking is the best strength and conditioning thing that I can do. Well, from my point of view anyway. Like, so if you start a goalkeeper in short kicking, make sure to get the short kicks right. So I just have a small thing. It's from the 13-meter line, just put a square out maybe further than the 20 and get them to kick into that 10 times. Then every night move the square further out. So if they're practicing their kicking all the time, their hamstrings will get used to kicking and their kicks will start to become stronger. And it's very important. It shows in some of the videos there as well, their connection with the ball. So the connection between your boot and the ball. It's like, I do take it back to a golf swing. If you're ever watching a golf swing and they're teeing off and you hear the ping of the ball when it hits the club perfectly at the top, it's the same with a kick. If you hear the ball coming off the outside of somebody's boot, you can hear that kick rather than a person it comes off their foot properly. So kicking is the one that I usually use, just repetition.
Thank you. See if there's any more before we. Is use of size 5 ball for kickouts good in training a good idea? Using the men's size 5 football for strength work, maybe the coaches.
Yes, yeah, it can be. I had a coach a couple of years ago with the county that's what I used for kickouts in training, and then obviously when it came to the size 4, then I was fit to kick that bit further. Little tip, what I do use is a couple of pairs of socks. So if you buy your boots is half size bigger and put maybe 2 or 3 pairs of socks on underneath it, you'll find your kicks go a lot further. Other than that, that's what I would use myself now.
Lovely then, thank you guys. Anything else? Because I'm just conscious we've been going for a good hour there, coming up at 9 o'clock. I think a lot of the questions were answered during the presentation, Linda and Aidan, and I think anything that during the Q&A throughout the presentation, I think they're all answered. Folks, just before we sign off, I'd like all the participants on the call tonight, there's a wee feedback form that I would like us to fill in once the webinar finishes here, so you can do that automatically. Please just give us LGFA at national level a bit of feedback in terms of going forward. Can I thank all the coaches and the parents and whoever's on the call for attending tonight and giving up your time. I know in all 32 counties our training's back for youth level at the minute anyway, Linda. So I know the seniors are eager to get back out in the field as well, but it's good to have our youth players, which is very, very important to get out on the training field. Can I also thank both Linda and Aidan for coming along tonight and presenting it. It was an excellent webinar and some thought-provoking comments, and it was good to have 2 people who have played at the very, very highest level. To the people out on the call tonight, as Linda says, listen, we've been through a tough, everybody, both kids, coaches, parents, been through a tough year and a half. I would say, Linda, this year, let kids have a go at different positions. It's nets, full forward, full back. If it's not their natural position, so what if you don't win leagues or championships this year? We've been through a lot. Let them have the freedom to go out and play. Let them try nets for a couple of games. If it means you're winning, losing, drawing games, so what? I think this year is the year to try to experiment different things. And would you agree in terms of the
yes, definitely so. And like that, maybe let everyone try the drills. I know like some of them can be fun, and like everyone will appreciate, you know, having a bit of crack and having a bit of fun at training. And Kieran says it's something that we all need at the minute, back out to see our friends and see everyone again. It'll be nice just to have that outlet again.
No, Kieran, definitely just let them play. They've been cooped up for well over a year now. Lockdown 1, 2, 3. I forget how many we've been in. They're back at getting back into schools a bit, and just let them get down to the pitch and let them play. And like, does anybody remember who won an under 14 league or championship or an under 16? Nobody after a few weeks remembers who won them. But it's all about, you know, making your players better, keeping them there, and creating that conveyor belt through the seniors, so you'll always have a steady stream of numbers coming through. That's what it's about at the end of the day. And we'll only do that by keeping it fun and giving girls loads of games and loads of opportunities as well.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.